What is up, my viewers? Spang here, bringing you yet another World of Tanks gameplay commentary. It is, yet again, a viewer-submitted replay. This is from my good buddy Merlin2013, a real-life friend who is actually, he surprised me. He's come quite a long way since the days back of old when he first started playing World of Tanks. I remember his early days, and he was definitely not all too active in it, but he's become much more so. And he's certainly learned what he's doing. But anyway, it's going to be a game in his Black Prince, a tank I don't usually see too much of, mostly because a lot of people don't like how slow it is. It's got decent armor, but its mobility is pretty much non-existent. Its top speed downhill is like 20 kilometers per hour. And right here you see him using the cruise control, because who wants to hold the W key for that long? No one. Okay, I was a little bit wrong. He reached 23 kilometers per hour going downhill, and now he's at his top speed of 20. Which is what he can achieve, kind of like going in a straight line, but again, it's a slow tank. The one thing it has going for it is its armor. Even tier 8s and 9s have been known to bounce off of it, but it's kind of on par with the Tiger P. You know, it's one of those vehicles where its armor is good, but it's not entirely reliable. Honestly, I think a lot of the times you're probably off better trying to shoot it in the turret. Let me see if I can get a good view on that. Yeah, like shooting those little cheeks to the left and side of each side of the gun maybe might be your best shot. Maybe trying to hit it in those little divots there underneath its gun. But we're shooting that flat part right there. Again, it's hard to pen from the front, and most of the time I say don't engage it from the front, because most of the time you don't have to. It's not a very mobile tank. He's already taking a shot here from something in the center. I'm not quite sure what hit him, and his Type 64, his scout, getting quickly eliminated there as well. Again, this is a 9.2. It is still day 4 of my post-op surgery recovery, and definitely, yeah. It's going to be, I have not said what this is yet, but if you haven't figured it out, it is a standard battle on Fisherman's Bay. A lot of heavy tanks going to the city, kind of standard for the course. The enemy team taking a very early lead, 1-4, and having a strong presence on pretty much all fronts. It's really going to be up to Merlin's team here to try and take the city with the heavy tanks they have sent. They've got even a TD kind of along the waterline. Not necessarily a bad decision, but he's definitely going to have to move up quite a bit more. He's going to be or any sort of useful. KV2s before their nerf. Oh wait, no, I'm thinking of the KV1S. What am I talking about? KV2s got nerfed way long time ago. I'm just going to blame that one on the medication. And right here, trying to get cross shots on this Yogg Panther, help out his Jumbo Sherman there, but it looks like the Jumbo's all on his own. He's probably going to die here very shortly. Oh, managing to clear away. Okay, one thing I did not mention. The good thing that the Black Prince does have going for it. Its fully upgraded gun has a great rate of fire, as you see. Unfortunately, that also comes with a low damage per shot, but it's good damage per minute. So, the other downside is its penetration, limited to 171. Previously, before this tank came out, the heavy tank with the lowest gun penetration at fully upgraded on tier 7 was the IS. It had 175. It was kind of a bit hard to play, but at the same time, it wasn't impossible. And then you get this, it's at 171, and it gets a little bit difficult to pen things at times, but at the same time you do have so much damage output, you know, just with your rate of fire, where you can afford to bounce a few shots. And right here he's trying to possibly hit that cogwheel, and I think he is trying to keep him permatracked here, trying to shoot for that underplate a bit, but still, like I said, 171 pen, it's really hard to play with that. But versus tier 6 and 5s, not so difficult, but once you start fighting tier 8s and 9s, definitely gets a lot more so. You start feeling like you wish you had the T-29's gun with the 198 pen or something similar, but at the same time, it's one of those things, and the part of it that makes it so difficult to play, again, is its mobility. You have such terrible penetration, and you can't flank anything. Sorry about the mic bump there. Can't flank and get on anything's side to get those side shots and back shots you need to actually penetrate anywhere. So a lot of times the best you can do against bigger tanks is, I'm just going to keep you tracked forever. Again, that rate of fire coming into play. But Merlin's team doing exactly what I said they needed to do, which was use their tank advantage in the city to take the city. Doing very well for his team in general. Well, his team doing very well. He hasn't really had the opportunity to do much yet, other than eliminate that Yogg Panther, or at least he got 1 kill, and I'm kind of sure it was that Yogg Panther. I kind of got off on my own tangent there for a moment, but the enemy team pushing up that 1-2 line due to pretty much nothing having been over there, paying a little bit too close of attention to that enemy vehicle. instead of where he was driving. But again, the Black Prince drives so slow, it's not really going to be a huge hindrance. It's not going to make that big of a difference to his ETA, his estimated time of arrival of wherever he's trying to go. Right here, AMX 12 ton looking like he's going to come in. One of the vehicles where it pretty much has no chance of penning him, and he has every chance of penning it. All that remains for the enemy team really is a lot of tier 6s, a tier 5, and 2 tier 7s, which that actually bodes very well for him. His armor's going to come in handy right here. This is where his tank shines. As long as he keeps his frontal armor facing towards the enemy, he will almost certainly bounce nearly everything that comes his way. Especially the one thing having any sort of good, both the SU 122-44 and that IS having the same penetration of 175, and his armor without any sort of angling taking into account any sort of distance penetration drop off, any of that, his frontal armor straight up and down is 152. And you add any sort of angling to that, that 175 pen is going to have virtually zero chance of getting through. So right now he is definitely sitting pretty, watching his base. The enemy team sitting kind of comfortable with a 1-tank lead. Granted, one of those vehicles is an artillery, so Merlin's team suffering a tank deficiency of 2 really, because artillery can't do anything unless it's has someone providing it with spots. Moved up just enough to see this enemy IS, and his pen is enough to get through that IS. The IS really not known for its armor at all. Getting a track on it, and he's kind of panicking a bit. The enemy IS looking to try and get behind that rock, and friendly artillery definitely playing a little bit of a role, doing his best to help out. Merlin realizing he's got to move up. The enemy team pushing on their base, doing their best to defend it from Merlin's team's push. Capture. So it's kind of like a little bit back and forth. Like I said, that Jackson not having nearly enough, this IS being the best hope to try and take him out and missing his shot. The IS having a much longer reload than the Black Prince, and he's just rolling up. He's being the juggernaut his tank is in this situation. And oh, a surprise enemy tank on his flank, and this IS doing exactly what he needs to do, abuse his faster mobility, but wow, that IS either suffering from a lot of lag or just a complete lack of skill. Merlin ignoring that enemy medium tank and sacrificing hit points to do what he knows needs to be done, which is target that Jackson and stop the enemy's cap. Shell ricocheting and going off into the great abyss, great sky above, and the teams have been evened out at 12-12. The enemy team still having a tier 7 and 2 tier 6s, but one of those, that 3485, in a very rough spot. The remaining 2 tank destroyers, that Hellcat and that 122-44, on their base trying to engage that KV-1S. This is before the nerf, keep in mind, so he is definitely a potent force. That KV-1S just as large of a gun and as big of a threat as an IS usually, just with a significant amount less hit points. And artillery providing a significant helping hand there, taking off a good chunk of that enemy medium tank's hit points, and it looks like that 85 looking to damage the track, and Merlin will finish him off right here. He can't go anywhere. He is tracked, and he is tracked until his death. So 13-12, it's up to those enemy tank destroyers to do something to stop Merlin and his team from winning, and it looks like they're using their teamwork to move up, take out that KV-1S, and they'll probably do just fine. Friendly artillery might have a little thing to say about that, considering that tank destroyer looks like he's standing relatively still. Like I said earlier, up there is an arty shot, but it seems like it missed and didn't do anything significant, considering both enemy tank destroyers are still alive. But like I was saying in my previous commentary, if you just watched that video, French arty, they are known for their rate of fire and their aim times. They are definite, and their mobility. French arty can get pretty much anywhere on the map in a reasonable amount of time. They are the fastest moving artillery pieces. Those tank destroyers managing to take out that KV-1S finally, probably a little bit longer than it should have taken them. That Hellcat getting the kill. But like I said, French arty definitely not known for its splash, but doing his very best to help. There we go, another shot lobbed off, and it will be a miss. At least not a direct hit, otherwise that Hellcat probably would have been dead, considering he was only at 200 something health. Yes, my vision is good enough to where I can actually read what's on my computer screen now, unlike the past 2 days. So I'm very happy about that, and I don't have to guess so much anymore. But Merlin playing a bit smart here, using this house as cover to try and prevent getting shot from 2 different angles of attack. The enemy team probably moving up through the city, trying to be cautious. If I was that French arty, knowing that I have the speed to do so, I would probably be booking it all the way back into the Alpha 9 region, or even being so bold as to just drive all the way across all the way to the Alpha 1 region and get that high ground, get that better safe zone, get those better shots, and be better able to support my heavy tank ally. Yeah, he might get attacked in the meantime, but really, the proximity with which he is just, I mean, I do not agree with this artillery right now, just due to the fact he is putting himself so much in the line of fire. And what's his average hit points? That's what I'm curious right now. I do not recall. 340. 340. So keep in mind that SU-122-44, that tank destroyer, has an average damage of 390. He's a potential, he is almost, you know, taking out one shot. And chances are pretty good he'd get shot before he was even spotted. It is possible, however. I mean, I know I said probably go to Alpha 1, but like, I was actually just going to say it's possible that Hellcat would be going to Alpha 1 to see if artillery was there. And Hellcats, they're tank destroyers, technically, but a lot of people use them in a kind of scoutish role as well. They have a good gun, their turret rotation sucks, and their armor sucks. But they have a good gun, and they have great speed. And so they kind of function a lot like a scout in a sense, in the fact that they can move quickly from one location to the other, see what the enemy team's up to, and get on those flanks. And then they actually have a decent gun to actually start dishing out damage, especially if they get to those positions unspotted. Then they can start using a little bit of their TD-ness to hide behind a bush somewhere, use some camo value. SU-122-44 spotted. He is going to bounce that shot. Like I said, that armor definitely coming into play here. And a tank destroyer versus a heavy tank, especially the Black Prince like that. Man, there was no other possible outcome. Even if that SU-122-44 had been running premium rounds, there is still a chance he would have bounced, for one. And for two, it's certainly a possibility that, I mean, well, it's not even a possibility that Merlin would have died if he had even penned, because he is outside that range of that top damage. So I think even if he high rolled the absolute top, Merlin would still be alive, granted with only a few hit points, and at that point he'd be left with a decision whether or not to try and ram him to death. But TD versus heavy tank and a ram doesn't usually work out. Merlin has broke out the premium shells, those APCR rounds. The Hellcat looking like he might be trying to go for that Lorraine, but instead, oh no, he is going for that Lorraine. Definitely he sees a chance to get one more kill, and he does not want to tango with a Black Prince, especially when the Black Prince knows exactly where he is and what he's doing. He wants to try and get flanks and try and use his strengths against the Black Prince's weaknesses. The Hellcat, though, getting himself out in the open, just shooting fish in a barrel. Turkey, it's a turkey shoot at this point. And there we go. 7 kills, definitely got Defender, and we're just going to see what else and here in just a second. Alright, so Mastery Badge Ace Tanker, and of course Top Gun, but Steel Wall, I don't even know why I didn't think to say he would get Steel Wall, considering how much shots he took for damage and how much shots he bounced. It was almost obvious he was going to get Steel Wall and Defender, so definitely proving his worth in more ways than one. He was not only a tank, steel wall, whatever you want to call it. I'm so used to referring to things as meat shields and tanks in other games, but in this game it doesn't really apply, but you get what I'm saying. He is absorbing that damage, he is taking those shots for his allies, he's doing the job of a well-armored tank, which is baiting those shots, getting the enemy team to focus on him instead of his softer, armored allies. And then he even fell back to his base, stopped the cap, prevented a loss. There's no other, I mean, if he had not gone back, his team would have lost to capture. And then he took out the enemy tank, so he was a complete triple threat in this, and just absolutely abusing the Black Prince's strengths as best he could. Total damage, not overly impressive, but definitely comparatively so when looking at the rest of his team. That SU-122-44, however, getting the high caliber, but not as much experience. Merlin proving just how much more effective he was comparing experience values. And what caused that? Well, that Artie actually doing very good, doing quite a bit for himself and managing to live until the end despite that enemy Hellcat trying to take him out. And total of 12 hits received, so just barely getting that steel wall, but still getting it, and over his tank's value and hit points absorbed by armor. So 36 total shots taken, 30 of those being actual hits, and, well, only 23 being penetrations, but what do you expect? Like I said, the gun doesn't have that good of penetration. It is probably, if I'm not mistaken, it is the worst penetrating gun of all the tier 7 heavy tanks, and the best being on the Tigers. So it's something you're just gonna have to suffer through. And unfortunately, unlike the IS, you don't have any sort of mobility to try and get on something's flank. You can't rush on something's side or its backside. You can't get those side and rear shots that you need to get, nor to use that. I mean, the Black Prince is a very niche tank. It's a very tough tank to play, and it's a very tough tank to learn. But once you do, I think you can enjoy it. I mean, I think Merlin proved that to us right here and now. But anyway, barely earning any sort of credits, even with premium, but that's because of his premium shells, you know, all those. He knew it was crunch time, and I have nothing against people when it is down to the wire and you absolutely positively need to do damage. He knew he was going to be at a disadvantage with his shells penetration. How did he compensate that to let his team win? He loaded APCR, and he was willing to pay the, you know, he wanted to win more than he wanted to earn credits, and I'm not going to fault someone for that, especially when it is necessary. It's one of those, like I said, crunch time. I don't condone running premium shells all the time, but when you are in one of those situations where you really got to start doing damage in order for your team to win, yeah, I'm one of those people who say, go ahead, load them. If you think it is going to be the difference maker between a loss and a victory, load them. But as a general rule, you should probably learn where to aim with standard AP shells where tank weak spots are, just so you can be more effective. Even with the higher damage rounds, you're going to be more effective if you're aiming at those weak spots. And I'm sorry, I don't mean higher damage, I mean higher penetration. Still, anyway. If you like this video, click that like button. If you want to see more, subscribe. And if you got a replay, be sure to check the description below for instructions on how to submit. And also, if you got comments on how I can make my channel or my videos better, comment section below is for that as well as whatever else you guys want to say. But until next time, this has been Spang, and I am signing off.